Welcome back to the Lars Larson Show. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm always glad to get to your phone calls, and I'll do that in just a moment. But I want to talk to Aaron Kliegman first, who's an enterprise reporter for our friend John Solomon at Just the News. Aaron, welcome to the program. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks so much for having me.
Now, we try to run a family show here, but I want you to describe as politely as you can, what the heck is the Transportation Security Administration, the TSA, the folks who pat you down at the airport. What do they mean when they say they're going to spend almost $19 million on non-binary screening systems?
Sure, happy to explain. So I guess how it works is it's a binary system for the most part. So because our TSA body scanners will scan males and females differently, it's obviously to account for different body types. And then people who say their gender was improperly assumed may ask for a rescreening before they get a physical pat down, and TSA rules mandate for travelers to be patted down by officers of the same gender. So what the TSA is doing is spending $18.6 million. They're working on sort of updating their technology, essentially, and the algorithm for quote unquote increased accuracy and efficiency. But apparently a lot of this money is going towards updating the screening process to account for, 9 non-binary people who choose don't be as either a male or a female. Now, in practice, and this is set to be rolled out in January, now how that actually manifests in practice, we'll have to see, but obviously it's a complicated issue because it's, I guess how do you do that in practice? That's part of the question. I know you want me to know, but I can't really. I wish I could be more helpful for you, but that's essentially what it's doing.
I mean, let's do this. I've had a long time in radio, so I can usually work around things with euphemisms. If the concern is that if you walk up to the TSA screener and you either by your dress, by the way you're dressed, or you say something, and the binary screener guesses that you are female, or you say I identify as female. And yet when you go through the scanner, there appears to be some contraband south of your belt buckle and north of your knees, then you might say, well, what is that? And, are you packing a bomb, or are you just happy to see me? I mean, so how does this work?
Well, that was put very delicately, I must say.
I try. I do my best, Aaron.
So it's the answer is it remains to be seen. What officials are saying, this is to kind of promote civil rights and kind of improve customer experience. Right now, apparently, 6% of those complaints about TSA screening are from members of the LGBT community, and so I guess it's obviously we're talking about a minority of the population, and even less so would presumably identify as neither male or female. So obviously a lot of those will identify as gay as opposed to transgender. I think what you're probably going to have is, it'll be interesting to see some issues, some arguments, because it's sort of, people are going to presumably be offended if they identify as what's not their biological sex. And if the TSA people, assume based on kind of what they see their gender, you could have some arguments and issues. You could see that holding up lines. I think we could be in for some interesting airport experiences next year.
Well, we could, because, look, and Aaron, I don't think I can be too outrageous on this, because over the last couple of years, we've dealt with stories where you've got somebody who says she identifies as a female, but is in fact a biological male, and they complain when the health clinic does not inquire as to whether or not they'd like their PSA checked, the prostate-specific antigen, and they're not offered a pap smear when they don't have anything to take a smear from, and yet they still pitch a fit about it and saying, you're denying me my civil rights because even though I'm a biological male and I still got the plumbing downstairs, you didn't offer me a pap smear. And you're like, I wish some of these people would just get a clue about what's going on. If you still have male parts, they're not going to offer you a pap smear. And if you have female parts, by consequence, they're not going to offer you a PSA test either. And how much are we going to let the tail wag the dog?
Well, you raised some interesting points, and TSA's travel engagement executive director, that's his title, Jose Bonilla, said he believes this new technology will lead to fewer pat downs and complaints from so from certain communities, I guess, namely the LGBTQ community. And his quote, he said, it will be gender neutral. So a lot of this will be a lot with so many government programs. I think you have an idea, but then it's how it's implemented is sort of not exactly thought out. And I think, and you can't really plan for this because, again, you don't necessarily know if someone would appear as, to the average person as definitely a male or definitely a female, but they could identify as the other way. And again, there's no, I don't think technology can account for that, no matter how much money you put into it.
No, but even that seems to have some gaps in it because, for instance, Aaron, if you go to the airport, I mean, just based on your name and based on the timbre of your voice, I'm guessing you're a male, and I won't offend you by identifying you as a male. If you go to the airport and you say, I identify as a female, then they're going to have a female officer pat you down. And yet that female officer is going to encounter things that the female officer should not encounter. And that's both probably an HR violation for the TSA officer and may not be all that good for you. So how do they accommodate these requests when you say, well, it's going to be gender neutral? Well, are you going to have men pat men down and women pat women down? Nobody wants to be patted down, but okay, if you got to do it, at least have somebody of the same gender. Except what if you're gay? If you're a gay male, do you want to be patted down by a woman instead of a man? I can't even draw a flow chart for how you'd make a decision on this stuff.
Well, you'd also have you could have some male TSA agents who I guess might be forced to pat down. Are they going to be forced to kind of pat down a woman who identifies as a man? That'd probably make the male TSA agent feel very uncomfortable.
I would think so. I mean, I would be uncomfortable with that arrangement, wouldn't you, Aaron?
Yeah, and I think most gentlemen, most decent men would be about that. But so are you going to so is a man going to be compelled to do that? There's a lot of, you could have, who knows, you could have lawsuits from this. It's a really complicated issue, and I think you could see parallels with some access, locker room access or bathroom access and other contexts. It raises all of these questions that we really, we really don't have good answers for because it's just kind of it's such a new phenomenon over the past couple of years.
Wait till some college-age joker who's traveling around the holidays and he's a guy walks in and says, I identify as a woman today and I'd like to be patted down by a woman. And tell me that's not going to happen, Aaron, because I can guarantee you there's a joker in every bunch. I try to be very straightforward when I go through the TSA line. I don't want to get sideways with the TSA when all I'm trying to do is get on a plane, but I guarantee you there's going to be somebody out there who's going to try that. Read the stories that Aaron Kliegman writes at justthenews.com. Aaron, it's a pleasure. You're listening to The Lars Larson Show.